Yo, what's up, everybody? This is Sugi, and today I'm gonna be reviewing Nippon Sangoku, the Three Nations of the Crimson Sun. Now, before we go into my review, let me kind of break down what exactly is this anime about by reading you the premise. Set in a post-Reiwa future, that is the era that started in 2019, by the way, Japan is brought to a ruin by catastrophes, global nuclear war, deadly pandemic, famine, earthquakes, and political collapse of the system. As civilization crumbles, the population falls to a fraction of its former size. Modern technology is mostly lost. Society has regressed into a Meiji-era level of development. That is the era from 1868 to 1912, by the way. And in the aftermath, the nation has been divided into three rival kingdoms, Buo, Seii, and Yamato. Yamato is the old name of Japan, by the way. And this is where our protagonist is from, and also a lot of the good guys. 100 years later, modern Japan has become a distant memory. Aoteru Misumi, a 15-year-old boy who admires lost culture and technology of the past, dreams of restoring the nation to its former greatness. After a tragic event changes his life, he travels to Osaka, where he meets a talented swordsman, Yoshitsune Asama. Sharing the same goal, the two begin a journey to reunite the divided kingdoms and rebuild Japan. So what I really love about this anime is that it has a very refreshing premise. Because the other post-apocalyptic shows, let's say Violent Jack, Fist of the North Star, or Mad Max, or Waterworld, all of those are just like a bunch of people roaming in the wastelands and the waters, raping, killing, pillaging, and stealing from people. There's no civilization anymore. There's no society. There's no laws. There's no countries. It's a fallen state, okay? It's totally a hellhole. But here, we still have countries. We have still laws. We have borders. Yes, electricity is now gone, cars are gone, people are using horses. There's still guns remaining, but there's no factories anymore. So it's this sort of like a regress state, but it's still functioning. Yes, there's bits of famine and there's a bit of struggle going on, like maintaining and functioning these countries. But in a lot of ways, it's like really on the borderline, is it collapsing or not? And that's a very nice sweet spot because we don't really get these types of post-apocalyptic stories here. So that's a very big appeal because we don't really get that many good historical shows. Yes, this is taking place in the future, but it's like a historical story in a way because they're depicting kind of like a historical world in a way. And like when it comes to like Sengoku period animes, I think in 2017, like every single season would have one Sengoku period anime, and all of them basically follow the exact same formula of like, you know, redoing the characters in a modern day setting or isekai. And all of them basically sucked. I really hate those. I still haven't seen a one really good Sengoku period based anime. Hoping that will happen at one point. Now, I do like the aesthetic of the actual anime, but it's slightly unrefined. So what I just said to you guys is that we are living in this sort of look that is very Meiji-era. It looks like it could be a story taking place in the Meiji-era. It's just that there's these like, you know, old, you know, steel bridges, concrete bridges, and concrete buildings instead of everything else. And I think that's my problem here with the look of the anime is that it's too Meiji period. It could have been just alternative history from the Meiji period going into some of a different direction. But obviously Meiji period did have electricity on it. But in my opinion, like there is some inconsistency here in the art style. I think there should have been maybe a bit more some high advanced technologies still existing and not everything going into horses. Like you would expect the military would preserve at least one tank or something, and there would be some oil reserves, like some kind of, you know, a glimpse. In 100 years, you don't lose that much of history, in my opinion. And a Fallout is like a good example of that, in my opinion. But whatever, okay. That's kind of like a side point, but that's something that I thought I would be mentioning. Now, what I want to warn people who are going into the actual pilot episode here is that the pilot episode is actually not that great because in the beginning they use this heavy black and white color set. And I think it's in the latter part of the episode when it starts to be shown fully in color. And this is a very artistic thing, but a lot of people are really, I would not go to watch a full black and white film. I'm going to be completely honest with you, unless it was Sin City, which even that is not even like full black and white. So that might be something that will turn off some people, just so you know. But everything after that is like fully on color, so don't you worry about that. And obviously, this pilot serves as ultimately explaining our protagonist, Aoteru Misumi's motivations and setting up also the bad villain of the series, Denki Taira. And the Taira family are kind of like this sort of organization within Yamato, which have absolutely a lot of political power And they have basically controlling out the emperor, who is total pussy and like doesn't know what to do, is totally incompetent, and is totally being controlled by Denki Taira. And the Taira family are kind of like antagonists of the show. And then you have the other faction at the other side, who Aoteru obviously is kind of part of. And they are obviously working with the Tairas, but I think the eventually, when we get into the ending of the series, it's probably going to be Denki's faction versus Aoteru's faction in the end, and they're going to be doing a civil war. And the following episode basically introduces another main character, according to Wikipedia, that is, and that is the Yoshitsune, who is basically a swordsman. He's kind of like a bit of like a bandit leader, and then he basically becomes like friends with Misumi. And it's a really weird relationship because he's kind of like this guy who has a lot of like internal dialogue and is kind of eccentric character, but he doesn't really get that much character arcs or really that much time. He is introduced, and he becomes a friend and a rival to Misumi, and that's kind of, I guess, that's what he really serves as some type of a counterpart, but in a friendly rivalry. By the way, it's not like he's a Vegeta or something like that. And then after that, we get into episode 3 when they basically enlist in the become the part of the government, and this is where we introduce another character, which is called Mitsuhide Ryuman. And he is like this borderland general of Yamato. So one of the military factions, a big faction in the country. And he is this sort of wise old guy with an eye patch. And basically, he's the most charismatic character in the whole season. And ironically, he kind of overshadows everybody else. And also, he gets a lot of screen time. Like the beginning episode is about Misumi, second episode is about Yoshitsune, and then third to even to the 12th episode, I feel like so much of the focus is really about Ryuman. And it feels like Ryuman is almost the main character. And yes, Misumi will have its moments in the ending episodes and stuff like that. But like in a lot of the ways, Ryuman is really the bread and the butter of the show. For this season, I don't know if it's intentional. I really like shows where there's not really exact specific main character. It's like more of side characters. I do like that style. And I feel like this show really emits that. There isn't this sort of a main character complex. The story is being told from the perspective of a lot of different people. Also, because they will go into war with the other nation, and we get to see their struggles and their views also as well. They become sort of a protagonist. It's like a Game of Thrones type of setting. Now, the series, as I said, is a good blend of political game and action. Historically, anime studios have not been really good at the genre of politics. Like Japanese takes on politics as a whole is very unnuanced. They don't really understand, communism, capitalism, fascism. These ideas are very like, they're just kind of like dictionary terms to them. They don't really understand them on a grander scheme. So every time that they have political themes in their anime, they just don't do it really well. It's just not really fascinating. It's not political science. And but this anime is definitely better to the better direction, in my opinion. So there's no issues in that sense. But I would have said, if I had to write this story, I would have probably add more countries than Tree, because Tree is not really that good in terms of building on political conflicts. Like the Kingdom anime is a good example. There's I think 6 nations and obviously some foreign nations top of that. That is a good blend because it's a lot of countries bordering each other, and there's a lot of relationships that you have to uphold, not just a relationship with one country. In terms of the OST, it's not thing to really write about. Opening and ending songs are really great, though. They stand out from the rest of the anime, and they are very catchy, something I would listen to outside. Not like absolute favorites, but I just appreciate them from an artistic point of view and just the kind of the mood. And it just really adheres to the overall animation style. And what I mean by that is that the animation here is very unique. It is obviously trying to depict also the style of the manga a bit. It's obviously slightly different. Nothing is one-to-one with the manga, of course, unless you're using AI, that is. And it's just a style that really looks nice. It's very artistic. It's not going to be appealing for everybody. It's obviously trying to be a bit more, standing out from the rest. And I feel like it's high end. It's a lot of brushstrokes. And the first episode, for example, as I said, the black and white stuff, it tries to be really artistic. And sometimes I feel like there's some animes like The Elusive Samurai that tries to be too much on the artistic side, and that's where I kind of lose control. So I feel like here it's on a good mix of like, it's not traditional animation, but it's kind of close to that. It's not going super artistic. It's kind of staying consistent here. And I just like the overall animation here. It's very good moments. The bloods and also the openings are, very, very well animated. Lastly, I want to talk about the finale. So I think this was also kind of like one of the weaker episodes because there's a lot of like condensed information in like course of like 5 minutes. So what the last episode does is that it's speed running so many events that took place, and it's kind of like narrating, okay, these people got killed and this coup started, this peace meeting. It's like a lot of information dumped into like 5 to 10 minutes, and I feel like they should have like made that stretched out throughout the last two episodes or something like that. They could have depicted those instead of like doing this sort of a like a storytelling recap of the events, because I think that took away a lot of those impact from those things. Maybe that is like it's how in the manga, but even if it was, I think this direction was really bad in my opinion, and it kind of ruins the pacing here. But obviously, the first season has already adapted like 40% of the manga, so it's going to be at quite some time until we're going to be getting season two, and that's probably going to be another 12 episodes. So I don't know like how long we have to wait for additional seasons for here. But like wrapping my really overall thoughts here, I think it's an artistic anime. It's a very unique setting. It's very different from what we have seen before. Yes, I think they should have been a bit more creative about this look of this post-apocalyptic world. Civilization and societies never stay the same, really, in terms of their aesthetics and things like that. People, even if they reside in old buildings, concrete skyscrapers, and things like that, there's still elements of rebuilding happening or repairing, building top of an old building or something like that. And we don't really see that in an artistic way. And that's something that I think was a missed opportunity for the artists of the manga. But hey, that's pretty much what I have to say. Stay tuned for a couple of other reviews for this season once I catch up with them.